welcome to episode 2 of Around the Wicket, where we will be going over the domestic league levels and then also looking into the IPL and how the Aussies fared. So David Warner didn't play another game since our last episode, so not much more to add there. By the time this sort of does go out, this episode, though, he would have played, at least I think it's one warm-up game by the time this goes out, potentially two. So hopefully he goes all right there. Marcus Stoinis was injured. He did return for one game, I believe, though. Jack, do you have much more to add to that one?
Yeah, he returned in Delhi's last game, which was the qualifier in the IPL. He made 18 off 23, I think. Wasn't amazing, but still good to see him out there. Didn't bowl, so I think that's probably a good thing to keep his body nice and fresh. But yeah, not amazing, but not bad at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to get that one more game coming into the World Cup under his belt. Glenn Maxwell was in ripper form, scoring 290 runs with an average of 58, and also taking 3 wickets for 111, which is, don't know if that's a typo, but that's not exactly setting the world a lot. Steve Smith was dropped, so he scored 48 runs with an average of 24 across 2 innings, the highest score of 39. Aiden, I believe you've got a bit to add to that.
Yeah, I think I mentioned a lot about Smudge last episode, but I think mostly talking about him getting dropped as well as Warner. Obviously, they've probably been the two most in the news players in the last 5 years in Australian cricket. But in saying that, they're obviously the two most senior players, you could say, most accomplished players. So even though they did get dropped in the IPL, I do think it's a different league, way different to a World Cup. I think both Warner and Smith are senior enough that they can carry on and change their mindset and still perform on a World Cup stage. I think they are on a bit of a shorter string this given World Cup, just because I think, honestly, in that format, they're sort of on their way out in terms of internationals go. But I do think, just how senior and experienced they are, I think they can turn it around. I think they've played enough World Cups to do that.
Yeah, that's interesting because obviously it is different. One's the IPL, one's the World Cup. I mean, it's still played in the same place though, and still same, T20. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I don't think Smith was certainly not the worst of the two. I think David Warner's, he's been dropped for quite a while now, and obviously, as you said, I didn't even have the stats there, but I think he got like a duck and maybe scored 1 or 2 in the other game. So he's in basically no form at all. So that'll be.
I tend to be optimistic if the players more experienced though, but he can let me down straight away, but who knows.
Maybe I'm just a negative one out of the bunch. So Dan Christian, so obviously he scored 11 runs, so across 4 innings, just coming in a bit further down, so didn't really do too much. Took 4 wickets again for 115. These numbers are right. For an average of 28 with an economy of, is it 9.85 or was that the wrong way around?
Yes, that is 9.85, yes.
Yeah, right, 9.85, that's right. Jesus. Coulton did play pretty well in his last couple of games. So 7 wickets with the ball, 7 wickets for 92. So not too bad. With an economy of 5.75. So that's not too bad. Didn't really do too much with that. Nathan Ellis as well was dropped as well. He took 1 wicket for 98 and scored 18. Hazelwood done really well in his last couple of games with 9 wickets he picked up for an average of 20 and an economy of bit higher, but 8.5. How do you boys say? Say Henriques?
Henriques.
Everyone says it differently. All right, 15 runs. 15 runs, yeah. So 3 wickets for 21 with an economy of 4.2. All right. Anything else to add before we finish up with the IPL, boys? Anyone catch the final?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
I was going to say that Hoff impressed me. I think I mentioned it off air before. He's really changed himself as a bowler. He was never really a short form bowler. He came into the Test arena first, I believe. At least he performed their best at the start of his career. And he was never really economical in the T20 arena, but he's really impressed me this season of IPL. He's sort of flicked the switch.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I completely agree. I think I watched his last couple of games for CSK. I think he took 3 wickets in his second last, and then in the final he guided them to a good victory, I think with 2. So yeah, played really well. All right, beautiful. We'll move on to the Marsh One Day Cup. So there's a South Australia versus Queensland Bulls 8 for 391 in the first innings for South Australia. So quite an impressive score, with Head scoring 230. So really impressive. And then Gurinder Sandhu, he's played for every state. He's been to Tassie. He's back. He's in Queensland now. So 4 for 73. Queensland all out for 312, 4 wickets each for Doggett and our favourite Lloyd Pope. Aiden, I think you wanted to say a little bit about Heady, mate.
Yeah, I think that's probably headlined the brief Australian summer of cricket or season of cricket so far. 230 in a one day is pretty insane, especially when the team made, I think, 390. So that's a massive chunk of it against a pretty quality outfit in Queensland as well. So, yeah, I think just with Head, I think, to be honest, I would have absolutely loved to see him over in the World Cup squad, even just his coverage. I think when you're bringing guys who are ancient, like Dan Christian, instead of a guy like Head, who's pretty much our future, even though he's played for a while already, I think that's just quite stupid. I mean, we don't really have a batsman as coverage as far as like, but yeah, as I said, that's sort of a bit of a miss for me. But I think as important as that could have been, I think it's equally as important that he gets heaps of form in Australia down. With obviously a massive summer coming up with the Poms coming over. I think he's got amazing potential in the one-day arena. I think he's going to be a really good one-day international player. I think I said in the group chat, he'll probably end up as our one-day captain one day. A lot of one-days in there. But I truly believe that. I think he's a great leader and an awesome bat in the short form. And then I also think as an extension, he's going to be one of those guys that bats really well in the short formats, especially one-dayers, and really uses that confidence to come out in the test arena and really dominate. I think he's not probably going to be able to do it the other way. But I think if he gets a few one-days under his belt, bit of shield and stuff, he will really use that confidence. And if he gets picked for the Ashes, I think he'll bat really well. So it's very promising.
Yeah, well said, mate. It was a outstanding innings. And another thing I took away from that is I think you've bullied Dan Christian into retiring, and any hope we had of getting on the podcast is been shot now. You've put him in
but he knows he's past it. He's like
he knows. Then again, though, if you're told, you keep playing, you're told you get picked for the World Cup, you're going to do it. But I do agree.
Although he T20 success follows Dan Christian, might be worth just throwing him in the side for that.
I think
That's a good call.
Something in that, even as a reserve.
Good bloke, Dan. Good bloke. Apologise.
Oh, it's a bit late now, mate. All right, moving on to the other match. The mighty Tassie Tigers played WA. WA batted first, all out for 218. An impressive ton going to Turner. Speaking of old men, Sidsy picked up 3 for 31.
On your Sids.
Tassie then went on to make 221 for 6 out, winning by 4 wickets with 6.1 overs remaining. So still a few overs to go there. And Silky 90 not out. Ty also bowled 4 for 39.
Looking good, Silky.
Looking good, Silky. Then moving on to the Marsh Sheffield Shield, Queensland Bulls versus the Tassie Tigers again. All the Tassie Tigers in here, love it. First innings, Tassie batted and they declared 6 out for 500 with Tim Ward. There's a name you've got to remember. He's up and coming, 144. Silky Smooth went on to get 100 not out. Queensland then batted 5 and declared after 5 out for 355. With a ton going to Jimmy Pearson and also Street, with Sammy Rainbird taking 2 for 80. Match ended in a draw with, I think it was Mkwaja came out and said he was pretty upset, saying that basically or Tassie I should say, basically played for the draw and didn't really want to win, not as comfortable with the draw. Did you boys hear that? Aiden, I think you said you mentioned it earlier.
I think that's just another advertisement to make the Shield 5 days, I think.
Yeah.
Because it really was over on the first day or on the second day when they decided to keep batting until Silk got his 100. Like, I mean, fair enough in a test match where we used to do that, and we used to try and get 500 every match and then declare because you've got the extra day. But like as soon as Queensland came out to bat, I mean, there was really no chance of a result unless they had a complete collapse, which they didn't. So
yeah. Absolutely. So you reckon the Shield should be 5 days?
I think it would make more. I mean, you get more results. I mean, you might not be able to play as many games as efficiently, but I think
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I don't know what the logistics behind it will be, but you'd have to look into the stats because I reckon a lot of them do end in draws just because they are 4 days. What do you boys reckon, Jye? Do you reckon it should be 5 days, mate, or what's your opinion?
Yeah. I was just what you were saying just then about how the amount of draws there are in Shield cricket. I just think we got to play the 5 days. You play Test cricket for 5 days. I mean, what's an extra day in Shield cricket to get more results? And
what's county cricket? Is that?
I think that's 4 as well. I think it's
County's
4.
4, I believe. Yeah. Jack, what do you reckon, mate? Should be 5 days or?
No, I think it's good at 4. I mean, you get a lot of draws, I guess, but I think you still got to have that difference between Test and the lower level, the extra day. But I think the other side of the argument is that this is why Test cricket should not be reduced to 4 days. Because if you can't have Shield cricket get results in 4 days, then why is Test cricket even being thought about going down to 4 days?
So it's interesting because you said, this is the same reason they shouldn't bring it down to 4 days is because of what's happening in the Shield. So why do you reckon they shouldn't? I mean, have your opinion, but why do you reckon they shouldn't extend it to 5 then to have more? Like I mean, logistically, you'd probably lose a few games here or there. Just that extra day might make it just the rostering a bit different. But I don't know. I just think if you get a lot more results throughout the competition, surely that's a lot better than just draw. I don't know.
I think there's a bit of tradition behind it as well, like first class cricket being 4 days.
It's always that extra day does make a difference, I would imagine. Like, I mean, I don't know. I've never played that level certainly, but
tactically it would, yeah.
Tactically, you haven't got that extra day to play with, so it's almost making it. Although it's still the same game, but it almost wouldn't just be better if it was 5 days going into Test matches. 5 days is exactly the same. I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me, but I'm sure there's a reason behind it. But what do we know? All right, so move on to the WBBL. I'm not too sure if too many of you boys have seen much of it, have you? Or
too busy working to catch much of it.
Is it working?
Watched a good game yesterday. The Scorchers and the Heat. They had a super over.
That was a good ending.
Yeah. And it's pretty good super over too. I think it was like 14 played 12 or something.
They needed 13 or 14, and then Sophie Devine came out and hit 2 sixes, and that was pretty much
the finisher.
all she wrote.
It's pretty good. It started really well, obviously, down there in humble little Hobart. Bit early on in the piece, but it's not looking good for the Canes, that's for sure. 0 from 2.
It's bigger and bigger, the WBBL. Every year it's growing heaps, which is great to see.
Yeah,
very good.
Absolutely. Yeah, Cricket Australia, we mentioned it last episode. They've done a really good job just promoting women's cricket in general and the WBBL, and it's all come a long way. So it's good to see. All right, moving on to bit of news. So Will Pucovski has obviously suffered yet another setback with his 10th concussion now. I'm not sure what the time frame is there. If anyone knows, but that's obviously still 10's extremely high. I mean, just not good for his cricketing career, but more importantly, it's certainly not good for his his health. You'd imagine 10 concussions. It's not good. So do you boys have too much more to add to that, or not really? I guess.
Oh yeah, I mean, we're just kind of discussing off air whether the ethics surrounding, discussing whether it's technique or whatever. I mean, so we don't really want to dive into that, but it does make you question though, like whether it's it's just bad luck or if it is something that he has got to work on in terms of his aggressiveness to the short ball or his technique or whatever. But I mean, it's kind of an interesting question when, as you said, it's 10 concussions. Like that is a lot of concussions. So it does make you concerned about the rest of his cricketing career and obviously, as you said, his life more importantly.
Yeah, we're finding obviously out more and more about concussions sort of every year these days. So who knows what the long-term health effects could be of that. 10's alarmingly high. So
I think like it's a tough one, but like you're saying, like jumping on the back of that, obviously you're seeing it come out in like AFL footy, a lot of sports around the world, like NFL as well, who wear helmets as well. Whether you have protection or not, if you get hit in the head enough times, it can cause like serious health detriments like later in your life, and they won't show up for years because like you can have delayed concussions up to months and stuff like that. So I don't want to end too many careers on the one episode, but I absolutely love the kid. Like he's a Victorian like superstar, and like I've seen him make so many runs for Victoria, and he came out and he played so well the limited time he got for the country. But honestly, like for mine, I think it's just his time. I don't think we should see him anymore because especially this summer, I think this summer's gone for him because you already know England's going to come over and be like, okay, this is the guy that's been hit in the head. This is the Ashes. He's not going to hide. They're going to be going for his head. And they're not going to, stop themselves. Like, it's the Ashes. It's the biggest stage and you want to win. You want to do anything to win. Of course they're going to do that. You see what they did on their home soil with Smithy and Marnus when he came out there. Like, of course they're not going to hold back. So I think for his own safety and his, like we've been saying, for his life in the future, I think this summer is definitely a miss for him. And unless, I don't know, he can turn his luck around or there's a miracle, I think, to be honest, I don't think we should see him much more.
Yeah, even if it means, I guess, going back and I don't know who it is, someone takes him under his wing and just, we don't know, we're just being, guessing somewhat here, but in terms of does step away for a bit and just practices more on the short ball, if that is what his downfall is, which we sort of saying may be, even if he goes away and just sort of practices on that a bit. I mean, I'm sure he does, but I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens there, but it's certainly sad, that's for sure. On top of that, who replaces him? I mean, well, I'll go to Aiden here because he's very vocal about this, but Usman Khawaja, mate, what do you reckon?
Well, yeah, I've got a few thoughts on this one. I think everyone's probably going to pitch in on Uz, but so I'll ask my question after that. But as far as Usman goes, he's great. He's absolute class. But for me, making 1 ton for Queensland in your one Shield game, it doesn't mean, like, people always, every season, people always get hung up on this guy making 170 and how he's going to be the next, the solve to our batting problem. Like, it doesn't work like that. You need to make tons of runs over the whole season and then you should be considered, like Bukowski was. So I think, no, Usman's not it. I think he's had his chance. Yes, he might be making runs, but I think a guy like Marcus Harris deserves maybe one more shot. I think he's been very consistent for the Vicks for a while, or even some younger guys who show promise. So, but yeah, I think it's not Uz. I think it's Marcus or someone else like that.
Yeah, no, awesome, mate. Who do you guys reckon? Jye, who do you reckon will be the replacement, mate?
Yeah, Marcus Harris for me. Think he's just got back from England playing county over there and he's made a heap of runs from what I'm hearing as well. I don't know the numbers, but I'd be going with Harris. I think Tim Payne's come out and backed him as well to open up with Warner. So, he's my first choice.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I heard about that as well. He said, I think Tim Payne was saying something about Davey gets to pick. Davey picks who he bats with, basically. So I'm not sure much in that, but I'm sure there's a lot of truth to it. Speech, who do you reckon, mate?
Yeah, I reckon Marcus. I mean, Victorians, probably a little bit biased towards Marcus, but I think it was, as Aiden said, it was his time's over in the Australian team. He had his time, and then making 1 century. I mean, it's good to see him making runs, but it's 1 innings. It's like, I mean, there's a couple of guys already mentioned earlier that made hundreds. That's just like bringing them in because they made 100. Like bring Silk in, he made a couple hundreds. Like that's not going to happen. So yeah, Aussie's time's done, and I reckon, well, why does Warner have to be in the team as well? We're saying open with Warner, but why is Warner automatically in the team right now? He hasn't made runs for however many years. When was the last time he made a century? I don't know.
That was
I don't think he's been too good since he came back, really, has he?
Not really. That's actually what I was going to say. My question was that I was sort of thinking about before we started to come on air. Do you think it's time we do something that a few teams, I think England have done it roughly after losing like one of their experienced guys in like Alistair Cook. Do you think it's time that we just throw out Warner and throw out like the openers and just get 2 new guys that are going to be there or you want to be there? So say, because to me, the middle order is pretty set. Like Cam Green looks like he's the real deal. I think they should keep backing him in the middle order. I think Obviously, Smudge and Marnus are going to be around. And then you've got like Payne is going to be there until he eventually says, yeah, I'm done. So why do you reckon it's worth just going, you know what, Travis, do you want to try and open? Or do you know what, Alex Carey, do you want to just open for us? And just going with those two guys so they get time playing with the middle order and time playing with that team and just going for it? Or do you think we give this Ashes to Dave and go pick someone and have this one? Or do you think just blow it up and get two new blokes at the top so they can get some continuation in the team?
Go, Sammy.
You go first, Jye.
Oh, it is a difficult one. Look, there's no one out there that's really stands out. And like you said, throwing guys up at the top of the order, they tried that with Matthew Wade. I think it might have been last year, maybe. And in the end, it's ultimately cost him his spot in the side, I think, because then he failed. He failed to make runs at the top of the order. Went back to number 6 or whatever, 5, whatever it was. Lost confidence, didn't make runs, and all of a sudden he was out of the team. So will guys have that same sort of thought? Oh, if I do this and I fail, then I'm going to lose my spot. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of ways to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like second. I can sort of smudge off. I can sort of smooch off, the person that before me. But no, I do completely agree with Jye in terms of if someone's performing at 5, 6, 4, whatever it is, and then you bring them into open, which is something they're not typically used to, and they don't succeed. I mean, that's not where they're supposed to be. So yeah, I do agree with Jye there. I think, and I do agree with the Wade aspect too.
And I don't think there's anyone in the side at the moment that really stands out that could go up and open the batting. I mean, Smith and Marnus they're perfect at 3 and 4. Cam Green at 6. Payne's obviously at 7. I can't see Tim Payne opening the batting. And
would you think someone else?
We've still got a number 5 up for grabs. So
yeah. What about someone from the Shield though as well? Or speaking too, but someone from the Shield coming up and opening, because obviously, David Warner is obviously not a long-term option. I don't even know why he's an option at the moment. So there's potential for someone from the Shield. I mean, it's obviously very early, but Tim Ward is obviously looking pretty good, but it's incredibly early to say anything there. But is there anyone else sort of going around opening that sort of caught your eye, Jack or Jye?
Well, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it kind of contradicts what I said earlier about Warner, but I think to answer Aiden's question, I think we do give Warner this summer, but I mean, not expecting him to make many runs. But then I think this Shield season should be crucial to find our next openers. Like whoever really proves that, they've got what it makes to be an Australian Test opener. I think, starting from whenever our next Test series is, I think that's when, as Aiden said, we should probably blow it up with our openers a little bit. But yeah, that's just my take on it.
Yeah, I sort of brought it up because in my opinion, and maybe I'm quite harsh on our team, but I think it is just time to completely blow it up. And if you get two guys in that aren't comfortable at the top or aren't making runs at the top at the start, it's just about sticking with them and just having faith in them. Because I think too much over the last few years, we've put guys in there, they haven't made runs maybe over one season, and then we've gone, when Sean's gone, get Burnsy in because he didn't do this, so he'd get him in. Like, you can't do that. Like, teams like England have stuck with blokes and they've been horrible for them, and they've lost sides like India or whatever. Like, I don't know that, but, stuff like that. And they've gone, you know what? Now these guys have potential. We're going to stick with them because that's what it's about. Like, it's about batting with the same lineup in the same spots consistently, whether you make runs or not, and then it'll be fine. Because to be honest, I'm a bit sick of sticking with Warner and someone. I actually think he misses Bucky Rogers a lot more than he gives credit for, because he hasn't had that partner that, has been that the coach or the selectors have had enough faith in to stay with him. So Warner's batting's gone down, and I'm sick of just trying to think, Dave will be good this season, and him coming out and letting us down, and his partner letting us down. Like, I think it's about time you just chuck two young blokes in and you go, you know what? If they don't make runs, they will get used to it one day, like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it might be a a hot take, but that's what I think we should do. And I think, you know what, it's time. Like England's team has been like all around the media is their team's young and their team's not as strong as it has been coming over. So I think why not? Like we've got Smith and Martins after him anyway. So
try something different. Yeah, I agree. Was it summer before last where he scored his triple ton? When was that? He scored his triple ton.
That was in the Pakistan series, wasn't it? Sorry, not great competition.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. Maybe
he has his struggles with Stuart Broad.
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah,
so
and that's his head.
Yeah, I mean, going forward to the Ashes, then would you potentially look to bring someone else in, or you'd still stick with Warner, Jye?
Look, I'll probably start with Warner. Just it's an Ashes series, and you've got to go with the experience. I think, especially in the first test. But then if you look at it from a tactical point of view, just like I said, he's got struggles with Stuart Broad. So
would you? That's where I reckon that Afghanistan test would have been.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Without taking,
really missing that.
You just bringing in someone different just to see how it goes. Obviously, Stuart Broad doesn't play for Afghanistan, but even just bringing someone in and see how they go, just getting that test in. I know it's only one test, and it's not really enough to prove yourself unless you're Callum Ferguson and you come in for one test and the team gets bowled out for 80 and you never see a test match again. But something along those lines, I think, wasn't it? But yeah, I don't know. I thought you could have brought him in for one test and maybe
would
see
have
how they went. But,
would have been really crucial, that test for the Ashes. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Does anyone else have anything else to add before we wrap it up for this episode? Awesome. So thanks for staying with us and stay tuned for our next episode where we will be previewing the upcoming World Cup starting pretty soon. So like, share, subscribe, do everything.
Next time.
All that. Go the Aussies.
Up the Aussies.
Yeah.